Hey, I'm Kevin, and in this presentation, I'm going to show you how you can increase your penis size. No, this isn't a joke. And no, I'm not going to be selling you any sketchy male enhancement supplements or a penis pump at the end of this presentation. Instead, I'll be showing you how a shocking new discovery will allow you to increase your penis size by 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, or even more, experience greater and longer lasting erections, along with a noticeable increase in thickness, put you in total control of your orgasms so that you can last as long as you want, say goodbye to performance anxiety, or worry about whether you'll be able to get it up when the moment comes, and dramatically increase the feeling and sensations of pleasure you and your partner experience each and every time you have sex. This secret to enlargement actually comes directly from people who live along the equator, which happens to also be the place where humans have the largest size members in the world. It turns out the secret to their incredible endowment is actually incredibly simple for guys like us to replicate in our own homes. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to safely and naturally do just that for nothing more than about $20 at the grocery store. Now, I'll give you the full details of this equatorial growth secret in just a few moments. But before I do, I want to go ahead and address the elephant in the room, which is that you're highly skeptical of the idea that you can truly increase both the length and girth of your penis by up to 3 inches. Truthfully, I was pretty skeptical too. But after trying it for myself, all I can say is that the results are ridiculous. I thought maybe a little growth was possible, sure, but I never in a million years imagined that the increase in size would be so massive, that my penis would cause me to actually miss the first quarter of the 2014 Super Bowl, because when the security at the stadium door saw the bulge on the side of my leg, they were positive that I had a gun strapped to my thigh. I'll share the full story in a second, I promise. But before I do, I want you to hear from some of the 60,488 other people whose lives have been rocked by the secret I'm about to give you. Marcus R., aged 60. I laughed when I first started reading your presentation. I thought it was baloney. I'd seen ads for other male supplements making similar promises in the past, and I always thought that they were a total scam, which they are. But as I kept reading and realized this wasn't about buying some pill, I started becoming more open to this idea. And when I saw all the evidence about the people near the equator, I just couldn't find an argument against this. Trying this method was hands down the best decision I've ever made. I grew 2 inches in the very first month, and my sex life has been explosive ever since. My wife likes to joke that I have the stamina of a 20-year-old, and she can barely keep up. But it's worth it to see that satisfied and happy smile on her face every time we finish making love. Darren S., age 47. I used to be okay with the size of my guy down there. 6 inches was about average, right? And I'd never heard a woman complain. But when I thought about it, I realized I'd never had a woman be ecstatic or gush about my size either. They just sort of stayed quiet. And that's what made the responses I started getting after using your method so wild. Suddenly, women couldn't stop talking about how powerful and gifted I was. Seriously, it got to the point where I had to block my number because some of the women I'd slept with wouldn't stop calling me, begging for sex. So, yeah, 6 inches might be average, but who the hell wants to be average? Take it from me, it's a lot more fun being in the top 1% when it comes to size, and women sure seem to agree. Kendra M., age 37. Wow, that's seriously all I can say these days. I find myself just walking around all day, thinking, wow, and drooling about the thought of getting home to my man. I don't know all of the details behind whatever it is you showed him, but I know what the results have been. I went from being okay with our love life to being insatiable. The size, the width, the power, it's incredible. You've made me one happy girl, Kevin. Thanks. Stories like the one you just heard from Marcus, Darren, and Kendra are awesome, but they aren't unique. I get calls, emails, and texts every single day from men and women across the world, and they all agree that this massive growth secret I'm about to share is life-changing. In fact, I know personally just how life-changing this can be as well. You see, back in 2012, I was just your average guy. And I do mean average in every sense of the word, including down there. Did you know that the average penis size is 5.5 inches long? Well, the size of my member was 5.7 inches, about as close to average as you can get, right? So yeah, average is how you would have described me back then. I had a steady job in sales, a mortgage, a safe mid-level sedan I drove to work in each weekday, and I also happened to be engaged to the woman I thought was the love of my life. Her name's Kate, and we'd started dating back in the winter of 2008. In April 14th, 2012, I proposed to her. She said yes, and I was the happiest man in the world. Kate and I were perfect, I thought. We might not have had the most passionate relationship in the world, but we were really compatible, like best friends. And I figured that's what really matters. The passion always fades in a relationship, but companionship is forever, right? Well, boy, was I in for a rude awakening. It was just over a month before our wedding date when I decided to take a half day from work and come home early to surprise Kate with a bottle of Merlot and some flowers. From the moment I walked through the door, though, something didn't feel right. I could hear the shower running from our bedroom, and I walked right in, hoping to surprise Kate and maybe even join her for some intimate time. But what happened next made my world shatter to pieces. Kate wasn't alone in the shower. She was with a man, and he was going to town on her body. I stood stunned for probably 15 seconds, hearing the sick sound of skin slapping against skin, along with her moans. And then I lost it. I started screaming, which in turn terrified the two of them and made them scream too. The man came bursting out of the shower, pushing me against the wall, then darting down the stairs and out into the street, completely naked. And I was left with a sobbing fiancé and a humiliating and overwhelming feeling of disgust and shame. Needless to say, Kate and I didn't get married. 2 weeks later, I'd signed a lease on a small apartment on the other side of town, and Kate and I never talked to one another again. Now, sure, during that first week, she tried apologizing. She told me she was sorry and that it didn't mean anything and all of that other garbage. But there was simply no way I could forgive her or trust her in the aftermath of what had happened. Plus, when I asked her why she'd done what she did, I just didn't feel like she was giving me a straight or honest answer. She said she just wanted attention, that she was being an idiot and that she'd made a mistake. But in my mind, none of that truly explained her betrayal. So, yes, I just went on with my life as best I could, feeling depressed, feeling alone, feeling like a loser. And I'm not telling you any of this for sympathy, but because even though I had no idea at the time, catching Kate cheating would end up being one of the best things that ever happened to me, and would eventually lead me to the breakthrough, size-increasing discovery I want to share with you today. Let me quickly explain how all of that came about. It was late September, about 3 months after Kate's betrayal, and I was at one of the local dive bars down the street trying unsuccessfully to drink away my sorrows. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Angela, one of Kate's best friends, standing by the pool table. I tried my best to avoid eye contact and hoped she wouldn't see me, but to my dismay, she noticed me almost immediately and walked right across the bar, plunking down on the seat right next to me. At first, the conversation was pretty normal, with Angela telling me how sorry she was about everything that had happened, that I was a good guy and I didn't deserve any of this. But As we kept talking and kept ordering rounds of drinks, she started becoming less and less guarded with what she was saying, until before I knew it, she was completely bad-mouthing one of her best friends, saying that Kate was not a good person and that I was better off for not being with her. That's when I turned to Angela and asked her, point blank, "Why did Kate cheat on me? She must have told you the real reason." Angela grew quiet, and I could tell she was debating something in her head. "Oh, I don't know, Kevin," she started. "She's just slimy." I wasn't having any of that. I knew there was more to the story, and I intended to find out what it was now. "That's BS, Angela, and you know it," I said. "Please tell me the truth. I think I deserve that much." And that's when Angela said something that would flip my world upside down forever. "Fine," she said. "You want to know, honestly? It's because the guy Kate was cheating on you with is incredibly well hung. I'm serious. That's the only reason. He went to the same high school as us, and all the girls have known about it since at least 10th grade. Kate always had the biggest crush on him when we were younger, and I guess they'd ran into each other at the supermarket maybe a month before you proposed to her. And the rest is, well, history. I think Kate just had to find out about his endowment, and she didn't mind cheating on you to do it. And worst is that I guess once she did experience everything he was packing, it completely rocked her world. I'm sure you already suspected that wasn't an isolated incident, and it wasn't. She'd been seeing him pretty regularly ever since they first reconnected, and all she could keep talking about was how she loved you, but she was so much more satisfied with him. That he made her feel like a sexual goddess, while you made her feel like a best friend. I'm sorry to be the one telling you this, Kevin. I know how gross it is, but you wanted to know the truth, and you do deserve that. Just remember that not all women are like Kate, okay? She's a you-know-what, and you're better than her. And with that, Angela threw $40 on the bar for her drinks, gave me a hug, and walked out the door. Meanwhile, I was left speechless. That was not what I'd expected to hear at all. I mean, just like a lot of guys, I'd taken a ruler to my member back when I was younger. I knew for a fact that my penis was absolutely average. Weren't most women fine with that? They had to be, right? Well, when I got home, I started looking around the internet for some reassurance. I searched, "Does size really matter?" And what I uncovered surprised me a lot. One of the very first things I found was a study conducted by Durex Condoms, polling women about sex. Of the thousands of females surveyed, a full 67% said they were unhappy with their lover's penis size. Then, I saw multiple articles and studies saying that a full 50% of women cheat on their mates at some point, along with numerous studies presented by the American Sociological Association and published in the Journal of Sexual Behavior, saying that about 2/3 of women who cheat do so not because they want an emotional connection or attention, like I'd always thought, but because they are sexually unsatisfied. It seriously made my head spin. But the more I thought about it, the more clearly I saw that the dots were connected. Durex found that 67% of women are unhappy with their lover's penis size. The presentation to the American Sociological Association found that 67% of women who cheat do so because they aren't sexually satisfied. So, in other words, an average penis size was the overwhelming reason women cheated. See the connection? Well, I sure did. And so suddenly I was forced to face an incredibly ugly reality, which was that, given my completely average size, along with the fact that a full 67% of women cheat on their spouses, I was probably going to be facing a life of humiliation and betrayal for as long as I lived. Unless that was, something changed. So I became desperate to find something that would help me to increase my size. The first option I looked at was those male enhancement pills I always saw advertised on the TV, radio, and magazines I read, with names like Extends, Libido Max, and Max Size. These supplements came with lots of marketing hype and pretty hefty promises. And as I ordered 5 different types of enhancers online, I couldn't help but feeling optimistic that maybe they'd be legit. I mean, after all, some of these brands have been around for a while now. They've sold millions of bottles, and at an average price of $35, I figured they wouldn't be able to get away with charging so much money for something that didn't work, right? Wrong. After 2 months of trying every male enhancement supplement under the sun, the only thing I had to show for my efforts were $200 down the drain, and a laundry list of side effects that I'd experienced. Almost all of them caused stomach cramps, nausea, insomnia, increased blood pressure, and even hallucinations. I didn't feel more sexually responsive. I certainly wasn't growing. And as I started digging deeper, I found out that pretty much every single male enhancement supplement out there had been proven repeatedly to be a complete fraud. Just take Enzyte, for example. You know, the pill that used to have those television ads with Bob in them. Turns out those pills were created by a finance industry guy named Stephen Warshak. Warshak made hundreds of millions of dollars with Enzyte until, that is, he was indicted by the federal government in 2006 for robbing consumers of more than $100 million via false advertising and credit card fraud. But that was just the beginning. Because Enzyte was such a ripoff, Warshak was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. And Enzyte isn't alone. Extends, another popular male enhancement supplement you've probably seen on TV, was just as bad. They faced more lawsuits than you can imagine. And in 2010, they settled a false advertising class action lawsuit for millions of dollars. A lawsuit so severe, the company was even forced to refund everyone who had purchased the supplement. The list of male enhancement supplement ripoffs go on, and there are too many lawsuits, too many guilty verdicts, too much fraud for me to go into during this presentation. But perhaps the biggest and most damning thing I found of all was a statement from Ira Charlap, a spokesman for the American Urological Association. Here's what he said. There's no such thing as a penis pill that works. These are all things that are sold for profit. There's no science or substance behind them. So, there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. And as I finished doing this research and read that statement from Mr. Charlap, I couldn't help but feel like I was out of luck. Of course, there were still a few other options. I looked into vacuum pumps, which I'd seen advertised since at least the 1960s. The way those work is by drawing extra blood to your penis, which makes it erect and a little bigger. But the results only last for about 15 to 20 minutes, and you don't actually get bigger. Plus, if you use one for more than 30 minutes, it can cause tissue damage that makes you permanently impotent. I also looked at penis enlargement surgery, but I discovered that the way they work is by cutting the ligament that connects your penis to your pelvic bone. That makes a little more of your shaft show, but it's less than an inch. And you don't actually get bigger from the surgery. It's just that a little more of your member is visible. Well, personally, the idea of someone taking a knife to my most precious body part was not really an option. Not to mention the side effects, which include infections, nerve damage, reduced sensitivity, and even trouble getting an erection, along with the fact that the surgery can cost $17,000. With all of my options exhausted, I couldn't help but feel depressed. I mean, I knew what the reality was, which is that no matter what women tell us men to our faces, the truth is that behind our backs, they're constantly judging us based on our size. And when we don't measure up, they cheat. Or if we're lucky, and we do get lucky, they don't call or text us back, and they definitely don't keep dating us, because they know that we simply won't be able to satisfy them. And it seemed like I was going to be alone and judged forever. So, anyways, that's where this story would end. And if it weren't for a completely random stroke of luck, something that seemed really silly at first, but that would end up being the key to me growing my penis by a whopping 3 inches in a single month, while helping more than 60,400 men just like me and you to do the exact same thing. It happened when I was on Facebook, just looking around and killing time. One of my buddies had posted a link that caught my attention, and that seemed pretty bizarre at first. It was a link to an interactive map which showed the average penis size for every single country in the world. I actually took a screenshot of the post so I'd remember the link, and you can see it here. When I clicked over to the map, it was pretty fascinating in its own right. But the more I poured through all of the data, the more I began noticing some really interesting things. First, there was the fact that the map did seem to confirm a lot of those stereotypes I'd always heard about penis size. On average, countries in Asia had by far the smallest average penis size at around 4 inches, while people in the Congo, which is in Africa, had the largest average penis size at a whopping 7.1 inches. But here's where things get really weird. Even though folks in the Congo were the most blessed, the next country with the largest average penis size was Ecuador, with 7 inches, followed by Ghana, also in Africa, at 6.8 inches, Venezuela at 6.7 inches, and Colombia at 6.6 inches. In other words, even though a country in Africa did have the largest average penis size, 3 out of the top 5 countries in penis size were in South America. Why was that? Why did these 3 Latin American countries have people who were so well endowed, to the point where they were a minimum of 2.6 inches longer than people in Asia? I stared at the map for hours trying to figure it out, and then suddenly a funny idea hit me. The Congo, Ecuador, Ghana, Venezuela, and Colombia are all situated right on the equator. In fact, the equator runs directly through Ecuador, Colombia, and the Congo, and both Venezuela and Ghana are literally just a few miles from it. Also, all 5 of those countries have a coastline and are on the ocean, which means not only are they in the middle of the earth, but they also all have the same coastal climate. I couldn't help but wonder if there was something to all of this. And if there was, what was the secret? Was it just genetics? Was it because of the weather? What? I became obsessed with this question, so much so that I quit my job, sold almost every possession I owned, and booked the round-the-world ticket to each of the 5 countries with the largest average size. I know that sounds crazy, and frankly, it was. But look, I don't think any man is truly happy without a healthy and passionate sex life. And my experience with Kate made me realize that if I didn't do something drastic, I was probably going to be unsatisfied and alone forever. Or at best, women would just be okay with my size. And that was absolutely not the kind of life I wanted to live. So, the very first place I visited was Ecuador, and I hit the ground running. I started looking at all kinds of different variables, including exercise, average height, average weight, average age of pregnant women, you name it, and I recorded everything down in detail. When I'd finished in Ecuador, I went to Colombia, then snuck into Venezuela, because Americans aren't all that welcomed, and then flew across the ocean to Ghana and, finally, the Congo. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't always feel safe during my travels, especially in Congo, where there's still a lot of violence and tribal warfare. But it didn't matter. I wanted the truth. And I honestly was willing to risk my life to make sure I got it. When my trip finally ended and I got back home, however, it still didn't seem like I was any closer to the answer. I mean, I had so much data. But how on earth was I going to make sense of it all? It felt overwhelming, and more than once I thought about giving up. But each time I was about to quit, I remembered what it felt like to come home and see Kate naked with that other, better equipped man. I thought about how pissed I was that women had been lying to guys like me and you, saying that size doesn't matter, when it clearly does. And how I didn't want to be the laughing stock of women any longer. How I wanted to be the powerful and virile man who took charge of women. The man got what he wanted, not just when it came to sex, but in every aspect of my life. And so I kept going, spending 11, 14, even 18 hours a day pouring through my notes and doing research. Until finally, on February 12th, 2013, just 2 days before Valentine's Day, I had my breakthrough moment. Of course, like with most major eureka moments, it happened when I wasn't even thinking about all my data. Instead, I was simply sitting at the breakfast table eating a bowl of Frosted Flakes. As I munched down on my sugar-covered cereal, I suddenly found myself thinking about one of the dishes I'd routinely eaten for breakfast when I was in the Congo, something called latuma. Now, latuma is basically just mashed up plantains, which are a cousin of bananas, that are rolled into little balls and then baked. And you're probably wondering what the big deal is, or why am I telling you about that? Well, the answer is that because, as I started thinking about it, I realized that in every single country I'd been to, plantains were one of the most popular foods for the people who lived there. In Ecuador, they ate patacones, which are plantains that are mashed up and fried in oil. In Colombia, they ate abarajados, which are fried sweet plantains with cheese. In Venezuela, they ate torta de plátano, which is a cake made with plantains. And in Ghana, they love to eat kelaweli, which is spiced plantain served with peanuts. So I started thinking, what other unique foods did all 5 of these countries have in common? Before I knew it, I'd made a list of hundreds of different foods that, like plantains, people in all 5 of these countries ate on a regular basis. Now, I'm not just talking about chicken or corn here. I'm talking about a diverse group of fruits, vegetables, herbs, roots, and grains that traditionally have only grown in coastal climates near the equator. Because of that, all 5 of these countries have been eating these special equator-based foods virtually non-stop for generations, and they're a huge part of their diets. So I couldn't help but wonder, was this the missing link I'd been hoping for? Could it be that the key to solving this mystery, the mystery of why 5 different countries spread out across 2 very different continents, seem to produce men with such large-sized penises? I mean, you are what you eat, right? And they certainly aren't eating a lot of tropical fruits like plantains in China. So, suddenly, all of my research headed in an entirely different direction. I took my list of the hundreds of coastal equatorial foods that these 5 countries had in common, started analyzing the nutritional properties for each of these foods, which included poring through every scientific study, every medical journal entry, and every other piece of published research on them, until eventually I came up with a list of just 22 foods, things that were incredibly unique and diverse, and that had been shown to not only play a role in male vitality, but that were also directly linked to an incredible increase in male penis size. Now, you're probably wondering why you've never heard of any of these foods before, and you're probably really curious about how on earth you could actually truly make your penis larger. Well, in answer to the first question, you have heard of some of these foods before. You just probably rarely eat them, even though you can find all of them in the supermarket, health food store, or farmer's market. As far as the second question, which is how they could make your penis larger, that one requires a bit more of an explanation, which I'll provide to you right now. You see, your penis has 3 chambers, 2 large ones on top, which are your erectile tissue, and 1 smaller chamber on the bottom, which you urinate and ejaculate from. When you get aroused, your brain sends blood to your penis, causing the erectile tissue in your 2 top chambers to expand, and that's what causes an erection. It's kind of similar to inflating a balloon. where your erectile tissue is the balloon and your blood is the air. When you're limp, your penis is like a balloon with no air. But as blood rushes into your erectile tissue, your penis starts to expand. Just like when air rushes into a balloon, it starts to inflate. Okay, so that covers how you get an erection. But this next part is really important, the key to everything. You see, the size of your penis is limited by the amount of blood your erectile tissue can hold, just like the size of a balloon is limited by how much air it can hold. Even if you use a high-pressure air pump, a birthday balloon will never become a hot air balloon. And even if you use a male enhancement supplement to rush blood to your penis, it won't make your actual penis size any larger. Instead, if you try to push the blood flow past that capacity, it will either leak back out or burst, leading to impotence. So what does a guy like me or you who wants to make our actual size bigger do? Well, we increase the size of our erectile tissue so that it can hold more blood, just like you would get a bigger balloon if you wanted to hold more air. And what I discovered through my research was there was a small group of foods on my list, all of which were native to these 5 coastal countries on the equator, that had been shown to be able to do just that. Physically expanding the size of your erectile tissue, allowing it to hold more blood both when limp and erect, and as a result, increasing the size of your penis. I can't even tell you how exciting all of this was, to realize that I'd finally found the missing piece to my puzzle, something that not only provided an answer to why those 5 countries all had men with such large penis sizes, but that also seemed to offer me a very real and scientifically proven way to increase my size too. And so the very next day, I went to the grocery store and started searching for the items on my list. Surprisingly, everything was actually pretty easy to find, and total, I only spent about $20. Then I turned myself into a human guinea pig by eating as much of all of the foods as possible. I couldn't eat everything all at once, of course, so instead I just added in a few items with each meal and kept track of what I was doing in a journal. Almost right from the beginning, things started getting out of control. I was getting erections more frequently. I was feeling more carnal. I even noticed my aggression levels go up slightly. It was a good sign, but I wasn't just after being horny. I wanted results. And so I kept going and measured myself each morning to see if there were any results. For the first week or so, I didn't see any major growth. But on day 9, when I woke up with my morning wood, which had been pretty common since starting this experiment, I was shocked to measure myself and see that I'd grown from 5.7 inches to 6.1 inches. I almost felt like maybe it was a mistake or I wasn't measuring myself properly. But as the days continued to go by, any doubts I had quickly vanished. On day 11, I was checking in at 6.5 inches. On day 14, my little guy was up to 6.11 inches. On day 17, he was at 7.3 inches. On day 20, he was at 7.8 inches. On day 24, it was 8.1 inch. And by day 30, I was measuring in at a whopping 8.73 inches. It was incredible, like nothing I'd ever experienced in my life. And at that point, I honestly started getting kind of concerned, because I didn't want it to grow too big. But at the same time, I was also feeling more powerful, more confident, more like a wild animal than I ever had before. So I kept going. And my absurd hyper growth kept going too, until just 56 days after I began my erectile tissue expanding diet, I was a human monster with a 10.5-inch sword hanging at my belt. At that point, I did stop. 10.5 inches was big enough for me, and nearly double the average man's penis size. Plus, my penis hadn't just been growing in length, the circumference had been getting wider and wider too. And it was getting so that my penis looked like a massive swollen tree trunk. After that, two things happened. The first was that I got over my ex-fiancée, Kate, fast. Every time I walked into a room, I instantly knew I was the most powerful, most virile, and most real man there. And I had absolutely zero fear about talking to women anymore, because I knew that they were desperate to get their hands and their body parts on what I had to give them. Plus, once I did make love to a partner, it was guaranteed she would be mine for as long as I wanted. Between my powerful size, the rock-hard erections I could now get on demand, and the incredible control I suddenly had over my orgasms, women were helpless. They'd never been with a man like me before, and they sure as hell never wanted to go back to someone else. And that brings me to the second thing that happened, which is that men from all over the country started asking me my secret. At first it was just local. Guys in town would overhear their wives gossiping to each other about my reputation, then quietly contact me and ask if I would share it with them too. Of course, I said yes. And within a month, those guys had all experienced similar results as I had, growing 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches or more, finding that they suddenly had the happiest wives or girlfriends on planet Earth, and absolutely loving their transformation. Before long, word was spreading all over town, and then even people from other states started contacting me. But even though the phone calls and emails I got were starting to be pretty overwhelming then, they were nothing compared to what would happen after the incident at the Super Bowl, when a security guard spotted me trying to walk into MetLife Stadium and practically tackled me because he thought I had a gun strapped to my leg. It took an entire quarter before I'd finally agreed to let one of them search me, and you can't even imagine the shock on the security team's faces when they realized that I was telling the truth, and that while I did have a lethal weapon hanging by my leg, it certainly wasn't a gun. At that point, people really started talking. I had media requests from across the country, strangers calling me from Japan, Russia, Mongolia, women who'd never met me before sending me marriage proposals via email. It was just insane. And that was the point where I realized I needed to take everything I discovered, the erectile tissue expanding foods that until now were only eaten regularly by people in those 5 countries along the equator, the portions you should eat of each food, how regularly you should eat them, and everything else, and put them all into one comprehensive guide that any man could follow, and that could quickly and easily add an extra 1 to 3 inches to their penis. I'm calling it the Massive Male Secret Program, and inside you'll get the 22 secret equatorial foods and herbs that have been proven by more than 64,000 men to increase penis size by up to 3 inches. All these foods can be purchased at your grocery store or health food store and only cost around $20. Each of these foods are powerful growth stimulators in their own right, but when combined together in the correct way, which I'll show you how to do inside, the result is a type of hyperexpansion that you never imagined possible. Remember, Massive Male Secrets isn't just about length. You'll also see a tremendous increase in your circumference and overall girth, too. Each morning you'll wake up, look in the mirror, and be shocked by the growth you're seeing, and the surge of confidence you now project because you know you're an absolute alpha male will shock others too. You should also know that Massive Male Secret isn't about stuffing your face or cooking a bunch of extra meals every day. Instead, you simply need to add a couple of these erectile tissue growing foods into your diet during the program, and that's it. The vast majority of the foods can be eaten as delicious snacks without any preparation whatsoever, and if you happen to not like any of the foods on the list, that's completely fine too. The point isn't to eat all 22 items. It's to simply get enough of them into your diet on a daily basis to achieve the growth you desire. And speaking of growth, I also realize that every guy is going to have different goals when it comes to using Massive Male Secret. For some guys, they may simply want to reach 7.2 inches, while I know others are going to want to be more aggressive and reach 10 plus inches as fast as possible. So, to make things easy, inside this program, I'm also including a specific eating plan that's customized to the amount of inches you want to add, which means no matter whether it's 1 inch you're after or 5 inches, I've got you covered. Additionally, I've also gone so far as to include a few special foods that research has shown can shrink your erectile tissue and reduce your penis size. I don't think many folks will use these, but I did want to include them just in case the growth you experience happens too rapidly and you end up with a larger penis than you're comfortable with. For the overwhelming number of men who use Massive Male Secrets, the increase in length and width they experience is absolutely staggering. They also report a remarkable ability to get erections on demand, that they no longer suffer from any erectile dysfunction issues, that their penises are noticeably harder during sexual activities, and that they experience an incredible new level of control over their orgasms. Greg D., age 51. Honestly, when I first heard about Massive Male Secrets, I thought it was just another ripoff. I didn't think it was possible to permanently increase the size of your penis. A friend tried it, though, and he wouldn't stop talking about the results. So that's when I decided that I'd give it a shot. Thank God I did. This was flat out one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. I saw a 1.5-inch growth in the first month and a 3.1-inch growth at the end of month 2. But it isn't just about length here. I'm noticeably thicker as well, and I'm experiencing the most powerful orgasms of my life. Thanks, Kevin. Garrett A., aged 47. Check out these pictures. The first is a ruler where I marked my measurement on day 1. The second is the same ruler where I marked my measurement after day 30. I don't think anyone can argue with this kind of results. This is revolutionary. I think women should be a little scared, honestly. I know they love larger men, but Massive Male Secret is going to be creating some absolute monsters out there. Mel C., age 36. It's embarrassing, but I started having problems getting it up pretty early in my 30s. I got a prescription for Viagra, but at $15 a pill, it felt like robbery. Not only did Massive Male Secrets lead to a significant increase in length and girth, it also completely eliminated my ED. Words can't even express how happy I am about this. Now, given the fact that Massive Male Secret has already been proven to be effective by more than 64,000 men just like you should be able to understand why originally I wanted to sell this program for $297. When you think about it, that's less than it costs to get a year's supply of Enzyte, Extends, or any of those other rip-off enhancement pills that have been shown time and time again to simply not work. It's also a hell of a lot less than the $17,000 you could pay for a penis enlargement surgery. And unlike with either surgeries or male enhancement pills, with Massive Male Secret, there are 0 side effects, and you don't run the risk of becoming permanently impotent. I know you do a lot to have a longer, fuller, more powerful penis in less than a month, but would you do it at the risk of nausea, hallucinations, stomach cramps, even heart attacks? I sure hope not, and especially considering you have a completely natural alternative right here in front of you. something that only requires you to spend about $20 at the supermarket. So with all of this in mind, it should be clear why I really do think $297 for Massive Male Secrets is an absolute bargain. But while I could honestly probably become a billionaire selling this program to the public at that price point, or even for much more, for me, this simply is not about money. I can still feel that sinking sensation in my stomach as I walked into the master bath and saw the woman I love bent over, giving herself up fully to another man. I can still feel that shame of knowing I was inadequate down there, still feeling that humiliation of taking off my pants in front of a woman for the first time, and her not responding at all to my member, or even worse, showing just the slightest hint of disappointment on her face. I don't think any man should ever have to go through that, especially when there's a very real, very powerful solution right in front of them. That's why there's just no chance on earth I could ask you to pay $297 for Massive Male Secrets, and why instead of even asking you to invest $197, or even just $197 for this proven guide that's already being used by more than 64,000 men just like you, if you act today and only while this website is still up, which may not be for long, you can get the full list of erectile tissue expanding foods, the step-by-step instructions for how to add them into your daily diet, the customized diet plan for reaching your specific size goals, even the secret foods for reducing your penis size if it becomes too big because of this, for nothing more but a one-time investment of $47. Get started now by clicking the Add to Cart button you see below right now. Once you click that button, you'll be taken to a 100% secure checkout page I've set up, where you'll enter your basic information. Then on the very next page, you'll receive instant access to the entire Massive Male Secret program, the lists, the guides, and everything else. You'll be able to view your entire program on any computer, smartphone, or tablet, or you can download it and print out additional copies to discreetly share with your friends. Once you click that button, you'll own Massive Male Secrets in its entirety. Plus, to make your choice right now even more automatic, I'm also going to put my money where my mouth is and give you a full 60-day, 100% money-back guarantee. It works like this. You just click the Add to Cart button that's below right now. Then you get everything that's included inside this program, and you start using it immediately. Find out what those 22 secret equatorial foods are. See for yourself just how easy they are to find at your local market, and how you can add them to your diet each day without having to cook a single additional meal. Experience the incredible growth that 64,000 men just like you have already experienced. Step out of the shower and feel the power you possess. And if you're not happy with your decision to invest for any reason whatsoever, even if you only see a 1.2-inch increase and you were hoping for a 1.9-inch gain, all you have to do is send an email to the address I'll give you inside the program, and I'll immediately refund your entire purchase with 0 questions asked. I'm taking all the risk here, which means you've got absolutely nothing to lose. Massive Male Secret could change your life forever. It definitely may turn you into the fully endowed man you've always dreamed of being, boost your confidence to extreme levels, make sex unspeakably better, and make your partner desperate for more. But if you're ready to get started, it's important that you act right now. Because if you come back to this website in a week from now and you find that this presentation has been taken down, I simply won't be able to help you. But why wouldn't you even take that chance or put off this investment? You have absolutely no risk here whatsoever. The program has worked for more than 64,000 men just like you, and you too could be a full 3 inches longer. I mean, ultimately, the choice is yours. This presentation is almost over, so you do need to make your decision quickly. You can just exit this page and continue on with your day. That's absolutely your choice. But if you're unhappy with your size, if you're having trouble keeping your lover satisfied, if you know she wishes you'd been born just a little bit bigger, then I have to wonder, what's going to change? What will you do differently so that you no longer feel embarrassed or insecure when you slide your pants down? If you don't have a good answer to that question, then I think your choice is a really easy one. Go ahead and click the Add to Cart button you see below this presentation right now. Try Massive Male Secret for yourself completely risk-free. You could be noticing incredible changes within hours and seeing incredible growth within days. Do that, and women will never look at you the same way again. And you'll never look at yourself the same way again either. The choice is yours. But you already know what you need to do. Click the Add to Cart button right now, take your free test run, and I'll see you inside the program. Sincerely, Kevin. Hey, you still hanging around? No worries. I can definitely understand that, especially given the incredible secrets I've just told you. Here's what I'll do to help straighten things out. Let me go ahead and answer some of the most common questions I get asked about Massive Male Secret, so you can click that Add to Cart button with full confidence. 1. Isn't it impossible for me to grow my penis? The key to what makes Massive Male Secret so effective lies in how it works. Other male enhancement pills and drugs send a rush of blood to your penis. That may make it look larger or fuller for a few moments, but they don't actually increase your overall size. With Massive Male Secret, on the other hand, I've identified 22 equatorial foods that do something completely different. You see, each of these foods contains enzymes and nutrients that actually promote growth of your erectile tissue. When you expand your erectile tissue, more blood can flow into your penis, which means the size gets larger. In other words, it's kind of like how if you overeat, your belly gets bigger, and it will stay bigger unless you diet and exercise constantly. Well, it's the same thing here. By eating these foods, your penis gets bigger, and unless you intentionally change your diet to reverse your penis size, it will stay larger. 2. What makes these 22 foods so special? Well, besides what I just told you about erectile tissue, the other thing that makes these foods so special is where they come from. All 22 are natural to 5 countries that are on the equator, which is right at the middle of the earth. It's no coincidence that these 5 countries also have men with the largest penis sizes in the world, on average. While folks in Asia have penises that are around 4 inches, these 5 countries have penises that are around 6.8 inches, or in the case of the Congo, 7.1 inch. The only major difference between these countries and the dozens of other countries around the world is their diets. And that's how I found the 22 erectile tissue expanding foods that are included in Massive Male Secret. 3. So, what exactly is included in Massive Male Secret again? Inside you'll get the 22 secret equatorial foods and herbs that have been proven by more than 64,000 men to increase penis size by up to 3 inches in a month. These foods are powerful growth stimulators in their own right, but when combined together in the correct way, which I'll show you how to do inside, they result in an increase in size and girth unlike anything you've ever dreamed of. All of these foods can be eaten as delicious snacks without any preparation whatsoever. And if you happen to not like any of the foods on the list, that's completely fine too. I also realize that every guy is going to have different goals when it comes to using Massive Male Secret. So inside this program, I'm also including a specific eating plan that's customized to the amount of inches you want to add, which means no matter whether it's 1 inch you're after or 5 inches, it's all possible. Additionally, I've also gone so far as to include a few special foods that research has shown can shrink your erectile tissue and reduce your penis size, so that if your growth happens too rapidly and you end up with a larger penis than you're comfortable with, you can go back to a more manageable size. Additionally, when men use this product, they also frequently report experiencing a remarkable ability to get erections on demand, that they no longer suffer from any erectile dysfunction issues, that their penises are noticeably harder during sexual activities, and that they have an incredible level of control over their orgasms. 4. Remind me, what are the terms for that guarantee you mentioned? You have a full 60 days to try out Massive Male Secret for yourself. Given how fast results tend to happen, that should be more than enough time to experience the powerful effects of this program firsthand. I think you'll be absolutely blown away by the growth you see, and that you'll love the way women respond as well. But if you change your mind about this investment for any reason whatsoever during that 2-month period, simply send an email to the address I'll give you inside the program, and I'll quickly refund 100% of your purchase with no questions asked. 5. Okay, how do I get started? Get started now by just clicking the Add to Cart button you see below. You'll then be taken to my secure checkout page, where you'll enter your order details. That part only takes about 30 seconds. And as soon as you're finished, you go to the private members-only area of the website that I've had set up. From there, you can view the entire program right on your computer, tablet, or smartphone, or download the program and print out extra copies.